Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our weekly virtual chai chat, presented to you by American Center Tashkent. My name is Gulshan, and I'm so excited today that we have a special guest, Dr. Michael Brody. Hello, Michael. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you. Hello.
Thanks so much for your time, and thanks for agreeing to do this chai chat for us. And I want to introduce Dr. Brody to everyone. Dr. Michael Brody teaches in the Department of Environmental Science at the American University in Washington, D.C. Before that, he was an environmental scientist at the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency in Washington. He has many years of experience in 3 countries in Central Asia and has been to Uzbekistan 4 times. He taught environmental science at the National University in Tashkent as a Fulbright scholar during the academic year 2017-2018. And he currently is leading a project of academic cooperation with Fergana State University. This is so exciting that you are still so much connected with us. Thanks, Michael, and it's great to see you. And we received so many requests and so many questions about when Dr. Brody is going to do a chat, and I'm so happy that that is happening today. Dr. Brody, where are you joining us from?
Well, I'm joining you from my home in Washington, in front of my computer, where most of our work is done now, because nobody goes to the office anymore. So I'm at home. I'm on the internet, which means I'm here, but I'm almost anywhere now. And I'm so happy to be back doing a chai chat, even if it's only virtual. That's still better than not at all. So I'm looking forward to doing this today.
Thank you so much. So I'm giving the floor to you. But before that, I just want to remind everyone that you have a wonderful chance to ask your questions here in our live broadcast. So if you have questions or comments, please feel free to put them in the comment sections right before this video, both on YouTube and Facebook. And we'll have Dr. Brody answer them at the end of his presentation. So, Dr. Brody, I'm giving the floor to you.
Okay, thank you very much. So, I hope everybody can see my presentation slides. Today, I'd like to talk to you about one of the most serious health issues around the entire world, and it's air quality. And I'm going to be showing you some air quality data and information for your capital city of Tashkent and for your entire country. And once again, I'd like to say, after having done a number of chai chats in person, I'd rather be giving this in person, but I'm very, very happy to be doing this even online, because I think environmental quality is one of the key issues of health in general, and many people don't understand its true impact, its true seriousness on our health. So with that, I'm going to get started. So I'm going to give you a very brief, not very technical, but sufficiently important introduction to a type of air pollution that is called particulate air pollution. And we call it in the business particulate matter. And before I go any further, even with this slide, I'd like you to know that the World Health Organization clearly states that particulate matter air pollution is the single pollutant that affects more people are exposed to around the entire world than any other pollutant of any type, whether it's air or water pollution or waste. Now, I need to tell you what this compound we call PM 2.5 actually is. So they are very small particles that are smaller than 2.5 microns in diameter. And for the purpose of comparison, what you see there is a human hair, okay? And it's 50 to 70 micrometers in diameter. So even hair is anywhere from 20 to potentially 30 times bigger in diameter. And then you see down at the bottom the size of sand at the beach, and you see the sizes of various other things that are in the atmosphere: dust, pollen, molds. Um, and so I'm going to tell you a little bit about where this particulate matter comes from, and then I'm going to also talk about its health effects and what it means for the people of Uzbekistan. So where does particulate pollution come from? Well, the most important thing you need to know, if you remember one thing, if you're burning virtually any kind of fuel, if you're a combusting fuel, so if you're using your car, if you are burning anything outdoors, wood, leaves, if you're burning coal, for instance, in your home for heat, and any of the big industries burn coal for electricity or use coal, oil, or gas, all of these things are sources of particulate matter pollution. And the dust that gets suspended. So there are many, many activities in daily life that we depend on. We absolutely need electricity. We need transportation. But nonetheless, they all produce these small particles. And that, once again, we call them PM, particulate matter. And we will see them in many different sizes. But it's the very, very small ones that are the big, big health problem. So I want to give you the scale of the global problem, which is around the world, 7 million or more people die every year earlier than they would have died due to this form of air pollution. This includes the industrial, transportation, outdoor pollution. In our field, we call that ambient air pollution, but it's the pollution that goes straight outdoors. But it also includes household air pollution. For people who cook indoors with poor ventilation or poor quality cooking stoves and use coal or not gas or electricity, there can be very high concentrations of particulate matter indoors. This can be a very big problem in some parts of the world. So this is outdoor pollution and indoor air pollution. And what it does, this kind of pollution increases the frequency of various respiratory and cardiac illnesses. So it's just tough on your lungs. So it increases the numbers of pneumonias, it increases strokes. For those of you who don't know medical English, stroke in Russian is insult. It increases various forms of heart diseases, like infarct. And it increases all the types of respiratory problems that people have similar to smoking. Okay, so it increases diseases of the lung, diseases of the breathing process, diseases of the heart, and diseases of some of them of the brain. So it's a very serious problem around the world. So look at that number, 7 million people. The COVID mortality around the world has not yet reached that, and may not, probably not, but this happens every single year. People rarely understand the significance on health of air pollution. So I'm going to give you a little tour now about pollution around the world. And I think we'll have time, and I'll show you this in greater detail live on the internet. So this is the World Health Organization's map of concentrations of PM 2.5 in different parts of the world. Now this, you will never recognize it easily, but the middle of this particular map is Central Asia. It's tough to pick that out, but since I took this slide from the global map, I was able to do that. So dark color is worse, okay? Green is good, yellow is okay, but as soon as it gets oranger, redder, or darker and darker red, it is not good. And so you'll see very few places in this part of the world that are really good. The green parts up at the top of this map are in Russia, where it's such a big country that the pollution is concentrated in cities, and large parts of the country have nothing. Okay. But Uzbekistan is a population of 33 million people in a much smaller area. So if you look down at the bottom, and I'm going to give you a link later in the talk, you can see where this map is for yourself. And I will be encouraging you to learn to read more about air pollution. So actually, around the world, there are real-time air quality monitors. And they are reporting online, some of them as frequently updating every single hour. What you see here is a map of these monitors, and they are all associated with the environmental agencies or environmental ministries of the various countries of the world. I will show you more about Central Asia in a minute. So you'll see there's a very high number of them in the US, China, and Europe. And once again, these are showing air quality. The monitors that are showing green are generally pretty good. The monitors that are showing red show air quality very bad. And so one of the things I want you to understand looking at this particular map is that whether the country is considered to be a major democracy like the US or Europe, or whether the country is considered to be very authoritarian like China, there's still free and open reporting of air quality. Okay, so this does not have to be linked to the political system. It has to be linked to the efforts of the government to get data and then make the data available to the people. So this place that you can see the website for, WAQI.info, WAQI stands for World Air Quality Information. It is a non-governmental organization, and it is located in Beijing, and I think it's an international group of specialists who are dedicated to making public the information about air quality in countries around the entire world. So it's a completely non-political organization, and as you can see, they work quite successfully with many countries in the world, but not all. Some are too poor to be having many monitors. Others have data, but they don't always show it. So here's a little more about your region. So I believe this 80 here, whatever day this was, that's the monitor, and I'll tell you more about it, that's located at the Embassy of the US in Tashkent. There are no monitors of the Uzbek government that are reporting in this online system. It's quite probable that the agency that is responsible for monitoring in Uzbekistan which is Uzhydromet, the Uzbek Hydrometeorological Service, have monitors possibly today that, but they are not reporting online. Perhaps they report in annual summaries. I will tell you that in Kazakhstan, there are actually many PM 2.5 monitors there that the Kaz Hydromet service operates. And they summarize the data and they publish it at the end of every year, but they are not real online, real-time monitors. So this is something that really, I hope, will change all across the region. Just once again, look at the low density, how few monitors there are in Central Asia. And then look again here in China, here in Europe, in the US, and even parts of South America. It's a big difference, and there's no reason we can't have more in this part of the world. There's nothing to be ashamed of having bad air quality. The only thing you need to do is to use this information to improve air quality. And it is very possible and probable. It's not that hard anymore to do it. So let me talk a little more specifically about what's going on in your city and in your country. So I took a reading just a couple days ago, on September 23rd. This is at the monitor at the US Embassy in Tashkent. And I want you to look at this number, 78. And we'll come back to the significance of that number in a little while. But I will tell you, it's a very high reading. I'd like to tell you something about the monitors that many of the embassies of the United States have installed around the world. And it is simply that the State Department has been installing the highest quality air quality monitors that meet all the regulatory standards for the United States. So every one of these monitors is the type of monitor that's approved for use in the United States by the US Environmental Protection Agency. And what this means is that these monitors can be trusted to have the highest quality information. So I wanted to make sure everybody understands that. So here is the air quality in Tashkent. I plotted this as monthly averages, okay? So this comes from the data in the next slide came from this monitor here, but these are monthly averages over a period of a little over 2 years. That it first came online in May of 2018, and I plotted it through August, the last month that had the full data. So once again, I want to point out a few things to you. So the lowest levels of readings, the lowest average monthly concentration of PM 2.5 is just above 20. You have some concentrations that are close to 80 micrograms. And then you have many that are over 50, near 50. And I'm going to explain to you in a little while just how significant that is. And then I wanted to show you for your whole country. Now, the whole country average is not based on these high quality monitors like at the embassy. But scientists around the world have been using satellites to estimate air particulate concentrations over large areas of the world where there are no monitors. These data come from satellite estimations that are made by a group of scientists, and then when the data are finalized, they are published on the site of the World Bank's World Development Indicators. And I hope I have the link for you at some point, but it's very easy to find. And what you will see, and this includes all the rural areas of Uzbekistan, not just the urban areas, that the annual average at the very minimum is about 28. And the annual average for the whole country is as high as 34. And once again, look at this 34 and 28. and look at Tashkent, it's often far higher than 30, okay, or at least 30. So these are very important numbers to grasp. Why? It's because, let's look at this slide. I've highlighted in blue the numbers that you really need to concentrate on. So in Tashkent, monthly average concentrations of this particulate matter, a low of about 21 to a high of nearly 80. These are very high quality data. If you were to go to the website where the data for this monitor are, you will see certain days where it's extremely, extremely high. I've seen days with readings of 130 and even higher in Tashkent. So that's 21 to 80 approximately. And then if you look for the most recent year of the satellite estimations for the whole country is 28 and a half. Okay. And even though I didn't put the link in there, if you just Google World Bank World Development Indicators Data Bank, if you want to explore, this is a remarkable site for finding information on virtually any topic. You will find this. Now, here's two numbers I want you to look at, and I want you to understand. So the World Health Organization has a guideline for an annual average that should be only 10. Okay, the WHO, which is not a regulatory agency, but publishes a lot of health information, they suggest 10. The United States, our Environmental Protection Agency, has a regulatory standard that the whole country is supposed to meet, and I will show you more about this later. Our standard is 12, okay? And look at these numbers up here. 21, the lowest monthly reading, is still 2 times the WHO guidance. 80 is, of course, 8 times and 7 times almost the EPA standard. And even the satellite estimation averaged for the whole country is still almost 3 times the WHO guideline. And I can assure you, people living in the cities of Uzbekistan are more likely to have these higher concentrations. Alisher Navai is a very industrial city. So this is a very conservative estimate. So what I want you to understand is the air quality in your country is almost always higher or a lot higher than the health standards. And this leads to poorer health. Your health is not as good as it could be, and early death for many. Now, I ran some models. I wasn't going to make this talk very technical. According to the World Health Organization, approximately a total of 170,000 people die every year in Uzbekistan out of a country of 33 million. Out of that 170,000 annual deaths, a conservative estimation would be that about 10,000 of those people died because of particulate matter pollution. The data aren't as good as we would like because we only have the one monitor and the one satellite data estimation. There are other ways of calculating it using other data available that could provide an estimate of double the 10,000, perhaps 20,000. I think the 10,000 is based on a better model, but the data are poor. So it's probably 20,000 is probably too high, but 10,000 is probably too low. And if you think about if you have friends or family with asthma or any other types of common diseases, even if they didn't die, they are all suffering more from this. So I want you to, as I said, understand the seriousness of this problem. And also in the US, we actually have some pretty good data that show that the mortality from the coronavirus, mortality from COVID, there is an added amount of death where the particulate pollution is higher, because we have good databases of, and I'll show you, of particulate pollution around the entire country, localized to small areas. In this country, we call them counties. That's bigger than a city, but smaller than a region or an oblast. So we're able to do some analysis that shows that this PM pollution increases the likelihood of dying from COVID. So I hope you get a copy of these slides. I want to emphasize that all of you can learn a lot more about this. And I'm giving you two sources. These are not the only sources, but these are the ones that I've used for this talk. And I want to emphasize that at WHO, like many important agencies of the United Nations, they will publish most important information in all of their 6 languages. So if you cannot yet read science well in English and you're interested in this, you will find most of this information also in Russian. Or if you're learning Mandarin, you'll find it in Chinese, or if you're studying French or Spanish. So it's available in whatever language you read best of these 6 languages. No matter what your field of study or interests are, I think it's very important to be able to read. You don't have to talk necessarily great, but you need to be able to read one of these 6 languages, and then you will have access to really what is an encyclopedia of knowledge of many fields, many subjects. And if your English is good, you can also come to the website of the US EPA. Sometimes we have this information also in Spanish, but not all of it. So before I move to showing you some real-time information, I want to show you the proof that I said the air pollution problem can be solved. So many people have heard of Los Angeles. Los Angeles is where Hollywood is. And I want you to look at downtown Los Angeles in 1973. The first time I visited Los Angeles was in 1974. And I was not downtown, but I was with some colleagues. And we were walking around the neighborhood of one of them who had grown up in a different part of Los Angeles. And he said to me, he turned me around, he made me look east to where, in theory, there were mountains. And he said, Michael, there's a mountain that is 1 mile high there. So, maybe 1.5 kilometers in altitude, height. And I said, you sure? Because I couldn't see it at all. The pollution was that bad in the US back then. Not just Los Angeles, although that was one of the worst places, but across the industrial parts of the United States. Now I want you to look at these buildings here. And I want you to look at what it looks like today. As I said, this problem is solvable. And during this period from 1973 to the current time, the number of people living in this area has increased by 5 million. Okay, so Tashkent itself is officially about 2.5 million, maybe 3 million. So Los Angeles, I don't know anymore how many people there, but during that period of time, it increased by potentially 2 times as many people currently officially living in Tashkent. And we clean the air. The technology is there to clean the air. So it's a matter of finding the money, finding the resources, and getting the political will. Anyway, so before this, I want to show you a couple other slides, especially for those of you who saw the advertisement on the Facebook page of the embassy, saw this. I don't know if you're online, but I wanted to thank the young man who invited me to his home back during my Fulbright, Kamal Eden, and his family made plof for me. You should probably know I am the biggest American supporter, lover of Uzbek plof in the entire United States. I am your best advertisement for Uzbek plof. So don't ever forget that, because before I move to the real-time slides, you can write to me if you have questions about air quality or environmental quality. It's a very simple address, mbrody@american.edu, because that's American University here in Washington. And I'd like to re-emphasize my love of Uzbek plof. So you don't have to pay me to answer any of your questions, but you have to promise to give me plof when I return. So first of all, thank you, everybody. Before we start taking questions, though, I wanted to show you a few things that you can do on the internet. So here, in fact, is that World Air Quality site that I showed you a slide of. And move around a lot, but so here's Central Asia kind of in the middle. So
Michael, can you
yes.
share your screen, please?
Oh, I have to reshare?
Yes, we don't see your screen.
Oh, sorry.
I'm removing your presentation, and if you could share.
Oh, okay. How about this? Can you see it now?
Yes.
Oh.
Wait. No, we just see your presentation.
Oh.
PowerPoint.
So do I have to do stop and then restart?
Yeah, do stop and then restart, and then share the other screen.
Okay, sorry, everybody.
Thank you.
Oops. Share screen. Okay. No. Now or not?
Not yet.
Okay, I'll try again. Sorry, everybody. We practiced, but
It's okay. It's technology. There's always something.
share screen. I keep hitting it. I don't get it. Having issues? Yes or no? Still no?
No.
Okay, well, whenever I click share screen, it's not doing anything. So.
It's not?
Oh, hold on. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Share. Sorry, folks. Now do you see a screen of monitor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, this was the World Air Quality site that I showed you. And once again, here's China. Now I'm going to find Central Asia again, I hope. Okay, so here's Central Asia. And here's the monitor right now in Tashkent. And I'll show you how to find it from the American website that has the US monitors. Okay, and Kyrgyzstan is not good right now. Bishkek is not bad. That's unusual. Okay, so, but look at this. Look at this low number of monitors, how few there are. So here's Uzbekistan, and the only monitor online is from the US. So you need to talk to the Hydromet service. Okay, so I'm going to stop this screen, and then I am going to share another screen. Whoops. Can you see this? No. Ugh. Oh, I'm getting better at this slowly. Can you see this now? I can't even hear anybody. Hello?
Yes, we can see you. We can see your screen.
Oh, okay. You can see this. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, for instance, so here is the site. I want you to learn this word, AirNow, one word, airnow.gov. This site is managed by the US EPA, and this only has the monitors that the US Department of State operate at our embassies. Okay, so I want you to see this, because then if you learn how to use this site, you can actually open the monitor data up. You know, if you go here to this select a city, and this will get very boring for somebody who's not a specialist. Select a parameter. Whoops. Okay. I'm not going to do this now, but you can actually open up the data set, the database that has the readings in it. So you can do your own statistical analysis the way I did. Okay, so I want to show you one more site in the US, what air quality looks like now in the US. Okay, share screen, Chrome tab. Okay, I hope
We
you
can
see this?
see. We can
Okay,
see. Yes.
so basically, American air quality is quite good now. Okay, and the only really bad air quality is in California, where the fires are, the red. We have these terrible forest fires going on right now. So, and this is not so bad. But what I want you to see also, look at this, updated September 25th, 6 a.m. So about 3 hours ago. So I'm going to stop screen sharing now. And I think what I want you to understand then is that there is lots of high quality scientific information about air quality, about particulate pollution around the world. And I would like some of you, at least, to be able to learn to use this information in order to improve the quality of air in Uzbekistan. And it's one of the important things you need to do to improve the health of your people and therefore the quality of life in and the success of your country. Okay, so I'm going to stop screen share. And so I'm happy now to take any questions for the rest of the hour.
Thanks so much, Dr. Brody. That was very informative and so much useful information. So we have some interesting questions. So the first question is from Jamshid Hakimov. He's asking how much the indicators of AQI in the US Embassy in Tashkent and in the reports of Uzgidromet differ.
You know, that's an excellent question. The last time I studied the Uzgidromet reports were when I was in Tashkent. And back then, of course, our monitor had not started. So unfortunately, I can't answer your question, but when I last read a report of Uzgidromet, they were still using very old, out-of-date monitoring technologies. Now, I have heard, I cannot prove this, that the World Bank has given them some money and helped them purchase some new monitors. But the Uzgidromet site has always been difficult to navigate. And when I was there on my scholarship, I tried to get some data from them to do some analysis with one of the other professors at the National University. I was in the Biofac Cathedra Ecologia, but I think they now have an ecology fac there. But they would not share the data because I was a foreigner. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to show you that big map. If both the US and China can share all their air quality data, no government should be afraid of sharing air quality data, because many people think that China is the most authoritarian country in the world now. And most people think, whether it's true or not, that the US is the most democratic country in the world. So it really doesn't matter about the politics. Okay. So
Right.
I'm sorry, Jamshid, but I haven't looked at one of the Uzbekistan reports in a couple of years. But, you know, I think that would be a great thing to do. So I'm actually going to write myself a note to see if I can find it. And what I'd like you to do is to maybe take down my email in case you've already seen them. And you can email it to me. And if they have it in English, that's great, but I can read the Russian too. So that's not a problem.
Wonderful. And before we move to the next question, I just want to remind everyone, please put your questions in the comments so that you could receive the answer in real time. So next question, once we started with Jamshid, let's get to the next question of Jamshid. He asks, as you know, in big cities, the air quality in various parts of the city may differ. In your opinion, in what places, parts of Tashkent city, air quality is relatively better?
Well, it's okay. Just a minute. I got to remember to put my brain in Tashkent and not in Bishkek or Almaty. But I will give you one general rule. Is that in most of the cities of Central Asia, if they have any kind of elevation differences, some parts of the city are higher up and some parts of the city are lower down, then the lower areas are usually have the air quality is worse in the areas that are lower. Another thing to think about is where is the population the most dense? If you have areas of the city that are poor, more people live closer together, and they are not on the district heating, they have to burn some kind of wood or coal in their homes for winter heating, it will always be worse there. So I will tell you that typically the US embassies are located in areas where the air quality is a little better, because our embassies have been moved outside of the center of cities. Unfortunately, for security reasons, they're very difficult to get into now. But usually the air quality is better around our embassies, which means the readings on the monitors would tend to be lower than they would be in some areas of the cities. I'll give you one really extreme example of that, which is in Bishkek, where the embassy, which looks exactly the same as the one in Tashkent or in Nur Sultan, it's in a higher elevation area. But if you go down to go shopping at the old Ash Bazaar, it's in a very low-lying area. It's extremely crowded. It is filled with marshrutkas that burn really poor quality diesel fuel. And that's a recipe for very, very bad air quality. Fortunately, in Uzbekistan, some of your buses and cars run on natural gas. So the quality of the fuel is a little better than in much of the Kyrgyz Republic. But nonetheless, if you go down to some lower, more traditional neighborhoods in Tashkent, you will find the air is probably worse. Now, you can begin to learn how to measure this yourself. There are now some portable air quality monitors that are only $300. Now, they don't work as well as these $100,000 monitors, but when they're new, if you learn to operate them carefully, you can get some information that is still useful. So just move to the highest part of your city and get rich so you don't have to live where people use bad fuel. But not everybody can do that. And that's why we have to clean the air properly for everybody.
All right, thank you. Moving away from the air quality topic just a little bit, you told us, a question from English Cabinet, you just told us that you have been in our country before 4 times. what is your impression? What impressions did you have, and what is your opinion about our people?
Well, when I go to a country after a second time or a third time, I would never return if I did not like the country. And the Uzbek people are some of the most hospitable people, the kindest people to foreigners anywhere in the world. And I'd like to tell you a quick story. I was up at Charvak with a colleague, a guy from Tashkent who is interested in renewable energy. And he took me with his son up to his dacha at Charvak, and I helped them pick their fruit. It was towards the end of the season, and they gave me bags of fruit to take home. We had to make a stop at the little village just down a little ways from Charvak because there was an Uzbek family there that made wine from his grapes for him every year. And so he had these big containers, the old ones, the empty ones, which he was returning to the family so they could make more wine from his grapes for him. And so he said, okay, this is Uzbekistan. We will, even though he needed to get back to Tashkent, he said, there's no such thing as a 1 minute hi, see you later kind of visit to an Uzbek home. He said, so we'll have a little tea. And so this family probably never ever thought or dreamed that an American might accidentally be visiting them. So we went in, they welcomed us into their home, we had a little tea, and then they started having some snacks and then some of the wine they make. And then in 20 minutes, there was a big plate full of plov. And my friend told me that even though at the cafes and big events, men often make the plov, but he said every wife in Uzbekistan can make a plov in 15 or 20 minutes. So that to me was just kind of a good example of how well I was treated by people all across your country. So I hope
Thank
that
you.
answers. So very, very good impressions.
Mm-hmm. So we have a comment from Ulubek Hakimov. Great presentation. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome, Ulugbek. Where are you now, Ulugbek?
He is in Tashkent.
Okay.
We have a comment from Наргиса Табаева. Добрый вечер, рада вас видеть. Привет вам от профессора.
Спасибо, Наргиз. Рад услышать от вас. Okay. I
So
have
Ulubek is commenting that he would be happy if all ecology scientists see your presentation.
Well, I hope to leave it at the embassy. It can be, I'm happy for Gulshan to share it with everyone. Hello, Faruza. Nice to see you. Everybody out in the audience should know that I gave a talk on a different subject for a English language, scientific language workshop that was organized by Orgench. And Gulshan was online that day.
Yeah.
And so Gulshan immediately invited me to do one of these. So hello, Faruza. Hello, Orgench. And maybe other folks from Orgench are online. Maybe Olim John, maybe others. So hello to everybody in Orgench.
All right. So Firuza says that the plov on the picture looks like Kharezm pilaf.
Well, yeah, I don't remember anymore, but I suppose but probably, probably his mother made it, or maybe his fiance. He was getting married maybe a little later after that. So I'm not sure, but it was nastoyashi domashny plov, ili osh. It was wonderful homemade plov. So.
Comment from Fazilat Suyunova. Worth watching. Thank you, Dr. Michael Brody.
You're quite welcome. It was a great pleasure and privilege. Okay.
Akbarjon Ruzimov. Good evening, Dr. Michael Brody. Thank you so much for informative webinar.
Well,
And
everybody should know I would have returned to Uzbekistan in May for my project with Fergana, but unfortunately with COVID, it's very difficult for anybody to travel anywhere. So, but my grant still exists. So as soon as it's possible to travel again, without 2-week quarantines, I will be back to Uzbekistan. And then when I am a 100-year-old pensioner, I plan to return to continue to eat plov so that I can live even longer.
yeah, we're looking forward for your coming back to Tashkent. A question from Jamshid Hakimov. What should one pay attention to when choosing neighborhood for living in Tashkent in order to achieve a better air quality? I mean, direction of windows, sun, wind, north, south, east, west.
Well, I don't think the direction of windows will be important. But you could study where the average wind blows for a neighborhood you're interested in. If the average wind blows towards the pollution and not from the pollution, then that might be helpful. But if the pollution is from, how much of it depends upon the cars, upon the home heating for people not on the district heating, it can be very difficult. But what I would say in general, higher elevation is usually cleaner. This is true pretty much everywhere in Central Asia. It's very true in Bishkek. It's very true in Almaty. Tashkent, the elevation differences are not as great within the city, but they are still there. You could, if you have $300 to order a monitor, handheld, you could study the pollution yourself. And then it does not matter if the monitor is giving you exactly correct readings. What you're interested in is how different they are. And I know one company that ships to everywhere in the world. If you write me later, I can give you some information in an email, Jamshid.
Wonderful. And a question connected to that. I don't know, Dr. Brody, if you could suggest something. Burning candles, like aroma candles at home, does it pollute air inside home?
Any process of burning will increase particulates in your home. So if your air outside is okay, open your windows. But yes, it's very small. A candle is very, very small, but it's still burning something. So if
All
any,
right.
okay, well, typically,
A question.
yes.
Are
Okay.
you answering the next question?
Yeah, I mean, there's a question. How can we improve the air quality for better? Some suggestions, please. Okay, I will start with, usually the easiest things to do are to improve the quality of fuel for electrical, for the production of electricity, and for the transportation sector. So we need more studies in Tashkent for the better define the sources of the air pollution. Now, if your cars are burning natural gas instead of gasoline, we say gasoline or benzene, then that's good. But then what is the quality of the gasoline that people are using in their cars? I don't know the answer to that. Your government probably has some information that I just do not know. And then as many of these cities in Central Asia grow quickly, the capitals in particular, more and more homes are built that are not connected directly to the central district heating systems. So the question is, how are people heating their homes in the winter? Is it with natural gas, which is pretty clean? Is it with electricity? Or do they have individual furnaces, boilers, heating technologies that are using coal or wood? Those are very bad. And so you need to improve the quality of the fuel for heating. If there are people who are not connected to the central systems, one of the very good things to do is to connect them to the central heating systems. And if you're burning any coal for electricity and not just hydropower, you need to do a lot to reduce the pollution from using coal in any kind of industrial process. But you have a lot of natural gas in Uzbekistan. You should try not to use any coal. You have a dip. So, and you have so much potential for solar power. And I know your government wants to build on that. Some of the issues of how to pay for it have been difficult, but more solar, more gas, no coal, zero coal, and try to not use poor quality diesel fuels like they do in some of the other countries and probably some in your country.
All right, thank you. Question from Akbarjon Ruzimov. Dr. Brody, do you think biotechnological research can increase quality of air in Kharizm and Karakalpakstan?
Okay, what I would say, of course, those are some of the regions that have deserts and the Aral Sea. The kind of what Uzbekistan needs for many, many reasons is to what we call in English land reclamation. And there is a fair amount of work how to improve plants so they grow better in these areas that have become low quality of the soils. And so that aspect of biotechnological research would be very useful. I know Saxaul is a fairly useful plant for reclaiming some of the lands that have been not destroyed, but the quality has been reduced from the poor irrigation systems. So yeah, I think in general, improving the plants genetically to better grow in some of these areas where the land quality is been degraded is useful. So I think yes.
Thank you. Question from Dania Hasanova. Thank you for bringing up this important topic. How does air quality affect water?
Okay, so if you burn a lot of poor quality coal, it puts sometimes what we call sulfur dioxide, some nitrogen oxides into the atmosphere. They come down when it rains. Of course, it doesn't always rain in Uzbekistan, but eventually it comes down. If it comes down into rivers or lakes, then it makes the water more acid, more kysliny, acidic. And in an industrial city like Navai, it can produce heavy metals that then deposit into the water. I did not visit Navai, but I was told never drink water from the main water system in Navai, only bottled water, because there were a lot of contaminants, and some of them will have come from the air. Some of them will have come from just poor pollution management, and some of it might have gone straight into the water without ever having been treated.
All right, thank you. Question from Oybek Shukurov. How can we make people start cycling or walking to work or school so that they reduce their personal carbon footprints?
Well, that's kind of a political, social question, but I would say that you could charge more for gasoline. You could tax them enough so that they were more motivated to walk, or you could.
People won't be happy.
Or there's a way to make them happy. If your kids are if people are driving their kids to school, if they walk to school, the school could give them a few soms every day for walking. Every day they walk, they get a little money. And that's what we call positive feedback. Okay. And that works better with people than negative feedback. But the price of gasoline should always be taxed so that there's some incentive to use less.
All right, thank you. Question from US Embassy Tashkent. What are the major sources of pollution in Tashkent?
Well, hello, Embassy, not just Gulshan. So as I mentioned, Tashkent is not a very industrial city, but you have lots of cars, as I mentioned, lots of heating, and you do have electricity production. Now, what needs to be done in many of these cities is what's called an emissions inventory. And this is when people study in detail what are the cars, what is the quality of the fuel, how much are they driving, so we can actually get some good or good enough estimates of pollution from automobiles and from trucks and from heating. So this is a process known as an emission inventory. And then from that, we do something more technical called a source apportionment. Now, this is more detail than this audience typically needs, but we need to move away from these general estimates of what is the source of the pollution to statistically scientific studies that give us very detailed information. And then our air quality management plans can be more effective and more efficient. But you really have to get good data about the quality of the fuel being used in transportation and in heating, and the numbers of cars of different ages, what kind of pollution control equipment they do or do not have, and in the heating sector, how many people are using heating that's not part of the district heating, and what are those furnaces and what are the fuel. The more you get data like that, the better you can improve the situation.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you so much. Unfortunately, we have to wrap up, and there are so many positive comments. I hope you will go back to the presentation and read them all personally. I just want to show a couple from Firuza Masharipova. Thank you. It was very informative. From Jamshid Hakimov, thank you very much, sir. Your presentation is very interesting and informative. Thanks for the answers, and I want to thank you. I want just to tell you so much that because it wasn't just good to see you, but it was also a lot of information and probably will help us improve somehow, start that work on improving air quality in our country, and that will improve the quality of life of our people too.
Well, maybe the people of Uzbekistan, our embassy, and Uzgidromet can develop a partnership to do this work. So
yeah,
that would be a great step forward. So
right. I hope the right people will see it too.
Oh, yeah. Also, before we go, I forgot I needed to show you one of my Uzbek advisors.
Oh,
so he works with me very closely every day.
You have similar beards.
Yeah, well, some people think he's my twin.
This is so cute.
So that was an example of the many gifts I've received from people in Uzbekistan. So for which I thank you all. And I hope to see some of you sometime in the next not too distant future. So
yeah, we hope so too. And probably we'll ask you to do one more chat, but in person, and people will be able to see you and talk to you.
Okay.
All right. And I want to thank everyone who participated in today's chat, and thank you for wonderful questions. If we didn't answer some questions, we're very sorry. We are limited in time, but it was very interesting, and I want to thank everyone who participated. Mr. Brody, it was good to see you, and we'll see you later.
Yes. Okay, everybody, or as we would say, see you later, alligator. That's a very American phrase. Okay.
Bye.
See you.